Up. Nice. Hey everybody, I'm Michael. I'm one of the plant ecologists at Seattle Parks, and I'm here at Arroyo Snatcher area. I'll wait for a few other people to join, but I'm gonna be going up. We're deep in West Seattle, and we're here at Arroyo Snatcher area. This is one of the gems of the Seattle Parks system, and really very few people have know about this spot, and I've actually only shared it with a few of my other colleagues, I guess, my other plant ecologists. So there's actually no formal trail system here, so we're gonna cruise up this slope here, and I don't know if you can tell, that's a big patch of Madrone that is west facing, overlooking Puget Sound. So alright, we're a couple people joining now. I know it's still kind of early. I think it's gonna take me a little bit of time to walk up the hill, so I'm just gonna get going, and I'll just keep talking about where we are. And again, yeah, so this is Arroyo Snatcher area, totally Googleable, really pretty easy to find. But once you get here, once Google tells you you're here, you kind of don't really believe that you're here. So I'm just gonna walk up there, and we're gonna see some cool Madrone forest today. And I think we want to look at plants, Pacific Northwest plants. It's really interesting. I don't know who planted these poppies. So these are, this is a Scolcia californica. This is a pretty classic, kind of California plant. Really beautiful. I had one flower in my yard yesterday. It's a good pollinator-friendly plant. So you can see there's some signs of restoration here. We've been working on this slope for several years. It's actually a former mine. So there was, they basically carved out this whole piece of the hill to create this, and then they turned around and built some homes on it. So it's kind of an interesting place. But you know what they couldn't build on, I think Parks ended up with. So there's a little bit, I think we seeded this area at some point in time. So I don't know if you see this little bit of yarrow here. Just a little bit. I think this is a fairly steep slope. Actually, here's some yarrow. It's a little bit farther along. It's flowering. Just about to flower, sorry. And we got some bracken fern that's coming up on its own that we don't plant. And yeah, I think we seeded this in order to kind of stabilize the soils. And you'll see this lupin that's blowing up right now. A little bee, I just scared him away. And really these shade intolerant conifers, these like Douglas firs that we planted. It's probably there's a few Madrone on the slope. Actually, I just passed one down there. A lot of them have failed. We're like unable to water this slope because of how steep it is. So you can see like this guy didn't make it. And there's looks like a few, I think we planted a few shore pine, which aren't like really historically relevant to this sort of slope, but there's quite a few shore pine, and they do really well in like drought conditions and really in full sun conditions. You'll see too, there's some Scots broom we need to take care of, and some of the non-native blackberry, which is okay. We know how to kill it. And I think we planted this as well. There was some, sorry, this looks terrible. It's like this Mahonia, this like low Oregon grape is kind of fried, but they're kind of hanging in there. I don't know. I think the best thing we can do in this situation is just to kind of be patient and wait for these trees to kind of create some shade and little micro habitats so we can actually get a greater diversity of plants to grow. So we're in Arroyo's natural area. This is in like deep southwest Seattle. Deep southwest Seattle. Pretty much as far as we can go. I don't know if y'all can see, I'm looking south towards Burien or something. I don't know the name of that point out there, but beyond that is Vashon Island. So I'm like climbing up this slope and we're about to hit, as soon as I hit this tree line, this is one of Seattle Park's basically pure madrone patches, and it's super cool. Like it's very uncommon actually for madrone to grow in pure patches. A lot of times you'll always see it associated with Douglas fir, and the madrone will be like a subdominant in the canopy. However, this area is pretty much pure madrone. And then in the understory, I think we'll find a lot of this low Oregon grape, as well as ocean spray and some honeysuckle. So we'll check on kind of the flowering of those plants right now. And I actually have not been here in at least a year. As you can tell, I'm not always down to climb up this slope. But this is this forest, we've actually made a pass through here maybe twice, like a weeding pass, and it really doesn't need much from us. Like it kind of just does well on its own. So again, I'll just turn around. This is pretty much a perfect day in Seattle. What time is it? How long did it take me to climb up here? So again, people just joining us, we're in Arroyo's natural area, and we're here to look at madrone forest today. So we actually got some flowering going on. I don't know if y'all have been watching madrones, but it seemed like just started flowering the last like week or so. If I can get close to one, we'll look at the flowers. But actually, I just ran into some, I don't know if y'all see this. This is the orange honeysuckle. So it's pretty characteristic of these madrone forest types in the understory. It's definitely not a dominant plant, but it will tend to climb up the salal and the smaller shrubs and into the trees themselves. So this is one of our native honeysuckles. So it's Lonicera ciliosa, and yeah, it'll be orange at times. So yeah, it's right here on the edge. I don't know if I can pull this Scott's broom out. And we're gonna cruise into the edge. I don't know if y'all can see. So this is probably one of my like favorite sit spots in all of Seattle parks. Actually, I don't know if this tree is actually on the property. It might be off on the private property, but I didn't tell you that. So if you ever make it up here, this is like probably one of the more gigantic madrones that we find around. It's we're totally forest bathing right now. So thing about madrones is that it is the largest species in the family Ericaceae, and it's like basically one of two evergreen broadleaf trees that we have in the Pacific Northwest. And the range for madrone, it really started, the leading edges in the north, like in the islands of British Columbia, and then kind of hugs the west coast of the North America really. and it kind of peters out south, like Central California, but you'll actually find it down into San Diego County. So, whoo, all right, finally found a flower. So these flowers are starting to pop out. So this is a botanical term. So these flowers come out in a panicle, and that's what that is, like terminal on the cluster of flowers on the terminal end is called a panicle. And I don't know if this is going to stay in focus, but we refer to these as urn-shaped flowers. I don't think anyone really has an urn in their house anymore. Maybe they do, but these are like upside down urns. So URN. I don't know if anyone can really uses that term anymore, but oh, it's not in focus at all. So anyway, bees are the primary pollinators on this. Yeah, and these right now, so it's late April. This stuff, these madrones are flowering, and probably they'll turn to berries, like these reddish orangish berries, and they'll persist like long into the late fall and early winter. So they're available for, it's really important for wildlife consumption. So, and pretty big berries, which birds with big mouths can swallow. But yeah, this gigantic tree, super lovely. Unfortunately, this, you know, kind of rough thing about madrones is that they're super fantastic. However, there's a lot of things that go wrong with them. So there's a lot of native and non-native pathogens that affect them. So what you're seeing right here is a canker, which is very specific. It's called madrone canker. It's fairly specific to this tree. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it because we want to look at some of the other pretty things, but because of the thin bark on these, like any sort of damage that we do on accident to the trees, you know, another tree may fall into it. We may use a weed trimmer and like cut it on accident, or we may back our truck into it or whatever. The thin skin bark, you do some damage, the tree isn't able to really encapsulate that damage, and then it leaves that wound open for fungus to get in. So that's the bad thing about the stems of the trees. All right, we're gonna move. So again, we're in Arroyo's natural area. So here's another the Lonicera that's starting to climb here. What other plants do we want to see? There's some non-native plants, some ivy creeping here on the edge. So the other thing kind of characteristic of this plant association is the ocean spray. So we kind of get in, it kind of looks like a little oaky leaf with those kind of toothed margins, but yeah, it won't grow as tall as an oak. It basically, I've seen them get like 15-20 feet tall, but yeah, it's really sort of dwells in these like upland, drier areas. And really, this area, I don't know why it's pure madrone. I don't know if y'all can see, but this is like, I don't know, pretty rare just to have a pure stand of madrone. Often, like I said, it's mixed up with Douglas fir a lot of the time. So here's some Mahonia or Berberis. I don't know if anyone has a preference what I use, but this is a flowering Mahonia coming in and out of focus. Trillium. Somebody asked about trillium. I don't think we're gonna find any trillium today. I think yeah, we need a little more moisture. I've never ran into trillium. Honestly, like I said, we don't spend too much time in this forest because it's kind of doing, well, it's super steep, and and it's fine. It doesn't really need much from us. We could come in here and plant maybe more Douglas fir at some point in time, but it's I don't know, like I showed you on the other side as I climbed up the hill, it would be really a tough time establishing anything else, because this is just a really exposed western facing slope, and it's like the driest and kind of one of the hottest places in Seattle during the summer. So yeah, there is somebody asked about Gary Oak. So there is one Gary Oak, and I don't think I'm going to be able to get to it today, but there is one Gary Oak that we found on the very north end of this property. So we yeah, I don't know, there's about a dozen acres here. There might be a little bit more. And we're really sandwiched in here between some homes that are down on the shoreline and homes up above on Marine View Drive. So we own this like kind of narrowish band of Madrone. So we also have here, I think this is like, I don't know, very small plant. Maybe not a lot of people care about, but it's a little like one of our, I think it's one of our native galliums. It's kind of comes out in these whorls. The leaves come out in these whorls. It's a little sticky, so I'll just pull it here. You can kind of see how it like sticks to my clothing. So it's like just one of those like little baby miniature plants that we find. And then we got here some native blackberry. So we saw some non-native blackberry coming up the slope. This one's a little different in that the instead of like these angular stems, it's in the shadow of my head. Instead of these angular stems, purple stems on the non-native blackberry, these are green, more green and round, or not round. Yeah, let's just say round. And the prickles are a little finer, so don't really dig into you as much. And you can see the start of some flowers here, maybe pop out within the next few weeks, and you'll be able to see some very white flower, very characteristic rose kind or blackberry type of flowers, and really scrumptious berries that are really tough to get to because the animals generally get to them before us. So what else we got? More snowberry. So the Symphocarpus albus, which can tolerate these like a little bit drier conditions here. So yeah, which in my yard just popped up, I feel like last week. So all these leaves are super new. What else we got? Okay, we can look at more madrones. So like I said, yeah, I don't know, unfortunately these madrones aren't the prettiest. I'll find some like characteristic bark for you, but we have more canker here. So you can see this branch failed, and with that wound left it open for these pathogens to get in. But yeah, woo, here we go. I think this is what you all came to see. This is this bark. So the inner bark is this, can be orangish or brown or chartreuse to yellow, sometimes green. I mean, it's about as good as it gets. And I don't know if you all know anything about me. This is like my favorite tree. And at Seattle Parks, we have a small little project called the Madrone Recovery Project, and we're kind of focused on trying to figure out what's going on with these trees. People have actually been thinking about it for decades, and they yeah, there's no saving them once they go into decline. However, there is some ways to there's some things I can talk about a little bit to kind of keep them healthy, or to plant. We still plant new ones where it's appropriate. So yeah, and they never, the cool thing, I don't know, an interesting thing is that they never really grow straight. You're hard pressed to find any straight ones. A lot of times they grow in these clusters. You know, they'll come out like in multiple stems. They can actually survive fire, and so that's one of the things about kind of why we have decline in the urban areas, is that yeah, there's just we've eliminated fire from as a main form of disturbance in the city, right? So fire may have in the past sort of cleaned out the sick trees at some point in time, and they have the ability not only to, what I said, survive fire, like the top part of the tree may actually fail, but then they actually keep a lignotuber at the base of the stem that stores carbohydrates and energy, and they can re-sprout after fire. Alright, if I fall, you all know where I am. It's a very steep territory. I think, like, I did tell people where I'm going, so if I fall, if the broadcast abruptly ends, please come to Arroyos to come find me. Yeah, so here's another lupin. That's I don't know how this might have hitchhiked on. I don't think we'd normally find this here. I think this hitchhiked on somebody's boots because we use this in the erosion control mix on the slope. So someone's asking if the cankers actually damage the tree or are they just bad aesthetically. So I think Eric knows where I am. Come get me. Yeah, the cankers, yeah, they don't look pretty at all, right? But they do harm. So all the living tissue, right, on the tree is just like really within the first couple like centimeters, you know, below the outer bark. So that's where all the tissue the xylem and the phloem that conveys the water and the nutrients and the sugars up and down the tree. So really, if there is some damage, you actually see where the tree actually healed itself here. So this is canker, dead tissue, and this it actually it did encapsulate or kind of seal off this wound. So this tree is gonna live. They can live for a long time sick, but it does harm the way you can see this whole one side of the tree is that living tissue is just pretty much gone. So subsequently then, or accordingly, you may see some die off in the canopy of the tree because that portion of the living tissue is supporting some portion of the canopy as well. So man, I hate to talk about all the bad things about Madrone right now because we could go on forever. I do too if people are really, geez, it's really steep. If anyone is really interested more about Madrone, I have, we've started this collaboration with Washington State University Plant Pathology program. So if you're at your desktop right now and want to go check things out, you'll find us at it's called Arbutus Army. Army as in ARME, which stands for Arbutus manzesii. But again, it's like a kind of a collaboration of folks looking to do some science and research more about the tree, and then also just really kind of focus on the recovery of the tree, and as well just appreciate it for all its beauty. I didn't pre-plan this walk, so yeah, again, sort of brushing it. Sorry, we can look at some more plants right now. Pretty much the same. It's kind of a lot of the same stuff we've already talked about, but people who kind of tuned in a little bit later, this is some more ocean spray. I thought we might see some flowering, so it's pretty magnificent. The ocean spray has, like, again, like a huge white cluster of flowers on the terminal end of the branches, but I think we're still a little early. You may see it in like a month or so. How are we doing on time? I have no idea. Holy moly, it's almost 12:30. All right, so I got about 5 more minutes to hang with you all. I don't know, I've been talking a lot. I don't know, I could actually just be quiet and let you appreciate it. I don't know if, like everyone else, I think I've been working a lot at home lately. However, I have been making time to go out in the woods I hope you have been too. Just kind of keeping all the guidelines for physical distancing, but I do honestly feel like these getting out in the forest and the parks is very important for your mental health and overall well-being. So I'm really kind of happy to share this with you all right now. Holy moly. And then I said I'd stop talking, but then I just saw another plant. So another plant, I don't know if y'all can see this. I'm gingerly touching it. This is one of our native roses. I think this is, I'm going to say Rosa gymnocarpa. So pretty smaller rose-shaped leaves, compound leaf that you find, and that's kind of common to all the roses. And yeah, the gymnocarpa is one, unlike kind of the Nootka rose, which grows in more moist conditions, this one tolerates a little bit drier spots. And so accordingly, yeah, you'll find it in our drier forest types a lot. And then we do use it in restoration, kind of particularly away from trails where it's not going to grow into the trail tread or cause really any problems. But yeah, a cool little pink flower at some point in time. Bald hip rose. Yeah, it might be bald. Sorry, I go back and forth. Sometimes I don't even know. I know either the Latin name or the common name for things. I think this is bald hip rose. Yeah, Rosa gymnocarpa, right? And again, it's mixed up in here. It's a big mess with more honeysuckle and the ocean spray underneath this canopy of madrones. Sorry, I'm not moving very fast because it's super steep and I'm one-handed. I'll try to keep going for y'all just a little bit, just because we got a few more minutes. Maybe we'll see something we haven't seen yet. And I don't know, can y'all hear the birds? Again, maybe I'll shut up. You can hear birds. Yeah, so even in the middle of the day, the birds, if I stop crashing around, you can hear, the birds hanging out. And so we're in, where are we? Late April. We're pretty much in the beginning-ish of, primary bird nesting season. So this is a fine time to hear birds. However, in some areas, yeah, we do. In areas that are like fully brushy and have a lot of good habitat cover, we sort of minimize our activities to mitigate any impacts that we have to bird nests. So I am tromping around, but I'm being a little cautious of where I'm stepping and whatnot. So I think, I thought I saw another flower, but no. So here's some more. Orange crowned warbler, thank you. Yeah, obviously I'm not a plant guy, not really a bird guy. So I appreciate any bird identification clues. Yeah, and I didn't touch on, somebody just mentioned the First Nations use of a lot of these plants, and I didn't really get into that, but yeah, somebody mentioned the use for ocean spray, but for sure Madrone was used. The berries, obviously this Instagram live is just for entertainment purposes only and not for any medical intent, but the berries can be dried and crushed and used as a condiment on all sort of different foods. You can find sort of recipes online. It's it's not very, I don't think it's very widespread or really known too much, but, and I do see more flowers up there, but I don't think you can see them. Again, like white flowers right now, and I won't say this is a great season for flowers, which kind of gives some indication of how many berries we'll get, but we grow them out for restoration purposes. We're also pulling seed from different provinces further south in order to see if we can kind of find some traits that are may indicate some tolerance to some of these pathogens I was talking about. So we have some trials going on in Discovery Park at this time, and yeah, but collection of berries is fun times in October, November. But like I said, I don't see a ton of flowers out now, but I think we still could be pretty early. But keep an eye out, especially, I don't know if you drive Interstate 5 or if you go to some other parks. Before I end, I will note that, yeah, Madrone mixed forests, we probably, in Seattle parks, we have somewhere up around 300 acres of mixed Madrone forests. So not just in Arroyo's natural area, but Seward Park actually has a lot. I'll just rattle off a few. Frank Park, Westcrest Park, North Acres Park. Where else? There's some in Magnuson Park. They're all over town, especially anywhere close to water. In the West Duwamish at Riverview, there is some as well. So 300 acres of park. So if anyone's really interested in finding out more about Madrone or have any questions about Madrone, feel free to reach out to us and just let us know, and we'll try to hook you up with the best information, because, like, again, I think it's obviously it's the best tree, and we want a lot of people to know about it. And if you're not walking amongst it or seen, I don't know if you all saw a bald eagle just fly by. That was a perfect ending. I'm gonna say end right now. I'm gonna stop talking. I love you guys. Thanks for sharing this with me. Again, we're in Arroyo's natural area, and I think we'll talk to you soon. All right, we'll see you soon. Take care.